I'm Theresa, and I've had extensive experience in taxation, and that has meant that I have dealt with birth, life, death, divorce, marriage. But I have found in my experience that there's a time when all of those incredibly emotional life events come together, and that's in mergers and acquisitions. They can be incredibly painful, joyful, and come with much expectation. I think today all I want to speak to is one consistent error that I find occurs in merger and acquisition, and that's from a managerial perspective of your people assets. In the current day, I knew a colleague who was incredibly talented, well-respected in the legal community. And his firm was purchased, and he was at a very significant high level in the firm. And it wasn't probably 3 months later where he was quite depressed, and I recognized all the normal signs. And the biggest comment he made to me was, "Theresa, now I have to prove myself all over again." And my immediate thought is, if you're managing this situation, you are already failing. Why should this level of talent have to prove to you their track record? So now let's go ahead and fast forward 6 months from that depressive moment to when he was honored with General Counsel of the Year in the entire state in which he was working. So it had gotten so bad in his depression that the CEOs that had come in was pretty much showing him the parking lot to winning this award, having all the venture capitalists come in to a board meeting very soon after that award, and having the CEO introduce him and saying, "Oh yes, and by the way, this is our general counsel, and he was just awarded this prestigious General Counsel of the Year." And having the venture capitalist woman look at him, his CEO, and say, "And what is your retention plan?" And there was dead, long silence. The CEO viewed it as utter failure for not recognizing the treasure that was purchased with their money. So, remember that silence, because I'm going to take you back 10 years now to when my firm was an acquired asset. The failure I'm going to show you is not speaking with the people that were acquired, not being genuinely interested in them. And you can have your reasons. You may know the number you need to get to. But my point here would be, they would come into my office, the purchasers, and they already had their agenda. And it wasn't to find out what people, assets, or treasure existed in skill and temperament. So what I learned was I was actually being indoctrinated, and there was an attempt for me to see a colleague in a different light. So again, fast forward, they're trying to push this woman out who was actually at my level. And I was too young to understand what was going on until it all just kind of fell apart on them. She was so good at her job, she had discovered a $50,000 refund that a brand new client would have lost, having just come from another CPA firm. But she was too good, and she always took her time, and she loved her job. They didn't like her because she was part-time. So I'm in the office of this partner, and he's actually not even looking at me, and he's quite interested in telling me, "Wow, did you hear about Maria and her $50,000? And so he's having this conversation, and he'd been one of the ones trying to tell me who she really was, that she was expendable. And I was young, and I remember just saying, "Al," as he wasn't looking at me, "you have no idea how good she is." And that silence I told you to remember from before, it happened again, except he looked up at me, and he wasn't indignant, he wasn't shocked, but I think it must be what happens in that moment when you realize you've made a huge mistake, or that you've just realized how you saw the world was wrong. And her life and her career changed, And I feel like that's when I knew I'm a good manager. So mergers and acquisitions, purchasing people assets, the true treasure of where you're going to go with this business. Remember two things. From your side, as the person being purchased, you're a skill and you're valued, and you may need to go and speak that to people and actually sell it. From the aspect of the purchaser, I guarantee you there's treasure, and you need to remain flexible to consider that there's a diamond there that fits perfectly with a plan that's adaptable. And so I think with merger and acquisition, it's emotional and it's difficult, but it's worth the price if it's done right.